Come on, man.
It's! It's!
Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday! Friday!
And in the interest of equal time,
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
try to keep that within 7 seconds so we don't get in trouble with the music police. How you doing? It's a Friday. It's a weekend preview. It's Freestyle Friday. It's whatever's on your mind here on the morning show on the SDH Network. John here, you there, and there's a lot of previewing that we have to get into. We got all the leagues to talk about. We have all the domestic stuff. We've got all the international stuff. We've got news overseas. There's plenty of that going on. Trust me, you've still got transfers. You've got ownership that wants to change clubs, and we now know why. All of that stuff is on the table this morning, and so once again, it's whatever's on your mind on a bunch of different leagues. Atlanta United is in Los Angeles as we speak, and they are hopefully sleeping, or maybe they're just getting up, having their morning cup of coffee, depending on when they're used to getting up, since it's a little after 6 a.m. on the West Coast and the Pacific time zone. So left coast being the best coast, according to some of our friends here on the Twitch pitch and on the show. But all right, what's on your mind? Lay it all out. I want to know what's going on as most of Major League Soccer is back to being Major League Soccer for the 9-match stretch run, or 10 or 11, depending on who we're talking about. Like I said, we'll go over through all the matchups in hour number 2 with Weekend Whip Around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later. We'll go over the matchups in USL Championship, in League One. Tonight on the network, it is MLS Next Pro at soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. It is Maddie and Mateen the Dream. They are going to be on the call for Orlando City B and Atlanta United 2. Pre-game at 7 o'clock here on the network. You'll hear the matchup. You'll hear what happened last time as Atlanta United 2 went down to Fort Lauderdale, got 2 points. So they have 11 points out of a possible 12 in their last 4 matches. 3 wins and the overtime PK win last time out. You'll hear all the highlights from that. You'll hear a conversation that I had with Atlanta United 2 head coach Steve Cook. And it will be Orlando City B visiting town in the standings, just so everybody's all on the same page in MLS Next Pro. Once again, Atlanta United chasing after a top 8. Right now in the Eastern Conference, and you'll get more of this in the SDH on MLS Next Pro program that'll be out this afternoon, as well as USL Championship and USL League One review preview. Right now in the East, FC Cincinnati 2's at 43 points. Morning, Alex. Philadelphia Union 2's at 41. Crew 2 at 39. Chicago Fire 2 at 35. They have 1 more win and 1 less match than Chattanooga FC. NYCFC 2 has now abandoned playing on top of the parking structure at St. John's. They are now going to, in September, have their first matches at Icon Stadium on Randall's Island. So the time at St. John's on top of the parking deck where you have to yell, "Game on!" is coming to a close. NYCFC 2's at 34 points. They have 1 more win than Crown Legacy. Inter Miami 2, Messi and Friends 2, 33 points, 1 more win than Red Bulls 2. Orlando City B, 31 points, 10th place, 21 matches played. Right behind them, Atlanta United 2 at 26 points with a match in hand. And so that's where Atlanta United 2 is right now. You take care of business. You're within 2 points. You get a win tonight in regulation. Then you take care of what's going on match in hand, and then you are within the sprint of the top 8. So Steve Cook and the crew taking care of business right now, 11 points out of a possible 12 in their last 4 matches. Tonight, OCB and Atlanta United 2 on the network, 7 o'clock pregame, 7:33 kick officially at soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. After Atlanta United 2, it's Toronto FC 2, and They are at 25 points, one more win than Carolina Core. Will be catching up with Roy Lassiter early next week because Atlanta United 2 and Carolina Core are squaring off on Wednesday. Pregame 7 o'clock on the network, kick in Carolina at 7:33. So we'll have that game in the midweek for you next week. We'll catch up with Roy Lassiter early next week and find out what the turnaround has been like at Carolina Core. Because remember, they got off to that really rough start, and they've been fighting uphill ever since. They're now in their new barn. All these things happening for Carolina Core, and they're only a point behind Atlanta United 2 heading into that matchup in the midweek after this weekend. Huntsville City Football Club, 5-11-5. They're at 20 points. And New England Revolution 2 at 4-14, 3-2. That last number is the shootout wins. They're at 17 points in the Eastern Conference. And so that is where Atlanta United 2 stands heading into the weekend. Once again, Maddie and Mateen Rad will be on the call for the matchup tonight, 7 o'clock pregame, 7:33 on the network at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. All right, it is time. Opening kickoff. Once again, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I got to find the QR code so I can hide the other QR code from you while I'm cutting the promo. And there's your QR code. For those of you who are watching on the video version of things, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Twitch, or whether it is on the 280-character app, you hit that QR code, you go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested in things that are cool, according to our friend Carlito. Once again, they'll take 10% reinvested in cool stuff with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I initially was going to be talking about our buddy Eric Ten Hag and basically how things are standing right now, where he ain't taking no guff, but it'll be a shorter version of what's going on with Manchester United. Don't forget, there's probably going to be a 3D from our buddy Drew Dickinson, the Drew Dickinson Diatribe, talking about his beloved United coming up later today as well. But Eric Ten Hag kind of going along the same lines of where I'm steering opening kickoff in the continuing saga of one of the other clubs in the Premier League has to do with Jadon Sancho. So Jadon Sancho and Juve, once again, could be paired up. Juve thinking about making a bid for him. Loaned out to Borussia Dortmund last year after falling out with Ten Hag, left out of the squad for the opening match last week against Fulham a week ago, where they won 1-0. Now, the way that it was written in the Times, according to Paul Hurst, although the pair buried the hatchet during the club's preseason, makes you wonder where the hatchet was actually buried. Absence from the squad at Old Trafford raised question marks over his future. Last season's rift between Sancho and Ten Hag, who was branded a liar by the winger in a social media post, caused significant disruption for the Dutchman, and the United manager has now warned his fringe players that he will not tolerate any act of defiance this season. So basically, Eric Ten Hag is now wagging his middle finger at his roster. Ten Hag said that it was, quote, a demand of the club. I feel like I should have some kind of ominous music underneath me. That all players pulled in the same direction and did not sulk if they were left out of the matchday squad. I think that's an honest thing to ask for. You know, if you're not in the squad, keep pulling your weight, be a part of the team. Don't be a droopy dog about it. I get it. Ten Hag, when asked if Sancho would return for the match against Brighton, we will see. We have a squad, and I hope we'll have a squad with double positioning when we go into the season after the transfer window closes. That means also you can't select all the players for a game, but you need them all throughout the season because this season will be survival of the fittest. He's not wrong. We have to manage it, but also the attitude of the players is very important. Sometimes they'll be disappointed, but they have to deal with it because you don't win with 11 players. You win as a squad. We need all the players in the squad to be highly motivated to contribute. That's not an expectation. That is a demand from the club. And for me as a manager to the squad, team is always more important than the individual. United have committed to spending £155 million so far on upfront fees and add-ons on De Ligt, Yoro, Mazraoui, and Xerxes, but they need Ugarte to provide competition for Casemiro. Confident of signing him, but are refusing to meet PSG's £50 million valuation of the holding midfielder. Ten Hag, when asked about Ugarte, said, be patient. We've done good business so far, signed very good players, all that stuff. So Shaw, Malacia, Yoro, Hoyland, Lindelof, still unavailable for Brighton. Maybe Xerxes goes from strength to strength. So that's how Eric Ten Hag is now responding to things. Everybody's got to pull their own weight. Everybody's got to go forward. The continuing saga of our buddy Enzo Maresca from Sam Wallace over at the Telegraph. Maresca, who's already separated those players who have a future at the club from those who do not, says he will be just as ruthless when it comes to selecting his team. Chelsea now have to find new clubs for around 13 players who've been cut from the large pool. We talked about who was in the bomb squad. We talked about who was on the practice squad, the 24 that were practicing the other day, the ones that are on the chopping block. Final week of the transfer window. Maresca said after the 2-0 first leg win in Europa Conference League playoff against Servette. Europa Conference League playoff. That's where Chelsea is right now. Said he would be just as bold when it came to picking his team. Sterling, who's now apparently being looked at by Villa for the second day in a row. Chilwell, Chalobah, Kepa, who is now apparently being looked at by Bournemouth, I believe. I think that came out this morning from our friends at the Athletic. Yes, Bournemouth working on a deal to sign Kepa from Chelsea, and perennial loanee Romelu Lukaku. Maresca has to adapt to the rhythm of the Premier League games at the weekend, providing Chelsea prevail in Geneva on Thursday. Maresca admitted that in terms of his first choice 11, he was far away from deciding its exact competition. The side play away at Wolves on Sunday. I judge the first 11 depending on how they work every day. If they're bad in a training session and they don't train with intensity, they're not going to play. If they don't train well from Sunday to Thursday, they're not going to play either in the Premier League, and they're not going to play on Thursday against Servette. Chelsea is a demanding club. You need to work hard to fight until the end to get your place and to be 100%. If you think I'm going to give you a chance without working hard, forget about that. First 11 tonight was this. We will see about the next game. I said about the goalkeepers, it's about performance. If Sanchez continues in the same way, he'll play in the Premier League. If not, Philip Jorgensen will play. This is the way I like to work with players. Now, Maresca did not deny the club might even make more signings. But he also stressed those would only improve the club. Not signing for the sake of signing, not just grabbing all the toys or all of the chips and sitting there and saying, mine, As we have this image of Bowley Clear Lake sitting there going, ooh, you go into FAO Schwartz or the Sharper image and you go, I want the vibrating easy chair. I want the drone. I want the radio operated helicopter. I want the I want the lamp that has the lava. I want the lava lamp that's 13 feet tall. I want the lava waterfall that's got the 5 columns that go up and down when you turn the light on. Bowley Clear Lake just goes into Sharper image. It's like, ooh, I want that. I want that. I want that. I want that. Or they go into FAO Schwartz. I want the 8-foot high teddy bear. I want the candy machines. I want all of it. That's where Chelsea is right now. Sorry, Michael Head. Spent £1.12 billion on players, and this is where they are, playing Servette in the play-in round of the Europa Conference League. Maresca said, if we sign for the sake of signing, it's better that we don't sign because we don't need to. But he also added, but if we are going to sign players because they're going to help us improve, sure, we'll need players. Otherwise, we're happy with the way we are. Joao Felix back at the club as a permanent. Could play as a 9. Maresca said, for me, he can do that. Or dropping in to give us an extra man when we need more passes. So Joao Felix is back. Mikel Arteta, by the way, has ruled out a move for Raheem Sterling. So like I said, it looks like Villa might be the one that's chasing after him the most right now. But in Manchester United and in Chelsea, 2 teams in the Premier League chasing after the top, you have 2 managers that aren't going to take any ish from anybody about anything. Not happening. Not going to do it. You're either in or you're out. And the fact that we have this rancor, this matter of factness from these folks, it's refreshing to get it in sound bites and press conferences. But yeah, Enzo Maresca ain't taking no ish from nobody. And this was the response I was waiting for from Michael. I can't even. Yeah, so maybe you get more players. But once again, Enzo Maresca saying it's like we're not just going to add for the sake of adding. Although Bowley Clear Lake wants to sit there and it's like, ooh, shiny object. Let's go chase it. We want it. What do we say? North of 50 players available for selection last week against Wolves. You had 24 that were practicing earlier this week. So that cut that number in half. But Maresca says, yeah, we might get more players if they can help us out. And you know that with a week left in the window, with those that are on the outs, if they can get rid of all of them and then bring in other players, you know that they will. We do, though, however, have a week to look at the balance and see, okay, who's leaving, who's coming, who's staying, all that kind of stuff. But the refreshing sound bites from Enzo Maresca and Erik ten Hag, like either you're in 100% or you ain't playing. Traditionally, you get more diplomatic sound bites. But this season, specifically with Maresca, it's like, either you're in or you're out, and I don't care what your price tag is. If you're making $11 gazillion and you were brought in by the owners and you ain't up to snuff, then you're over there. You're over there on the pledge sofa at the Delta House. You're over there with Larry Kroger and everybody else. That's where you are. So it's refreshing. It's refreshing to see that kind of stuff from these coaches. But nevertheless, once again, we got a week left in the window overseas. And the movement and the shaking that we'll get into is a part of hour number 2 with all the movement in the news. We'll get into that, preview it. We got juice boxes for the Premier League. The Bundesliga is kicking off, so that means that the Big Five are all finally going. We've got, like I said, USL Championship, USL League One, MLS, weekend whip around, all that stuff that's here this morning. I want to know what's on your mind when it comes to Atlanta United. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what your gut is. Juice boxes for Atlanta United have the margins have closed a little bit. It was a lot wider when the week started, but right now LAG is a minus 139. Your draw is a plus 341, and Atlanta United is north of plus 300. They're at a plus 304. That margin was a lot bigger earlier. So that's what you're staring at with Atlanta United and LA Galaxy with all of that. So that's your early numbers for Atlanta United. But once again, those margins have come together a little bit. And Marco Royce, I will give the LAG legal team. I will give the LAG legal team a boatload of credit for their connections, not wasting any time in getting Marco Royce signed, sealed, shipped, in, holding up the jersey, the whole thing. He'll be wearing 18, by the way. But, yes, the LAG legal team wasting no time in getting Marco Royce under the umbrella. It will be interesting, much like Alexei Miranchuk on the weekend, how many minutes you will get from Marco Royce. To go with the Killer Peas, Paintsel, Peck and Puig, Dejan Joveljic, Diego Fagundes at the back line with Yamane and Yoshida. It is a formidable group. And we'll see what happens late night. So it'll be MLS After Dark with Atlanta United and LAG out in Los Angeles. 10:40 start on Saturday night. So that means that the pregame show, and we talked about this with Abe at the beginning of the week, to have him give the entire week to prepare. 9:30 pregame show on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. 10:40 kick, because once again, remember, Apple TV wanted that extra minute this year, so it's now 10. So 10:40 kick, which means the match will be over about 1:45. And then probably until about 2 o'clock, you'll have the full-time report involving Abe and maybe Garrett. So we'll see. I know that Abe will be there. Maybe Garrett will be there. Maybe we can get Garrett to come on Monday, being Labor Day. So once again, late night for Atlanta United. But I want to know what you're thinking about Atlanta United. I want to know what your anticipation is, what you're looking at for the run in here with the final 9 matches. So put your thinking cap on quickly on a Friday and let me know what's on your mind. I guess that's opening kickoff. I kind of went in a couple different directions. That's opening kickoff, once again, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching on the video side of things. It is on the YouTubes, it is on the Twitch, and it is on the 280-character app. Right there, you click onto that QR code, go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Then you do your shopping. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. Get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested in youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Quickly trying to confuse QR codes because, once again, brought to us by our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps. Over 30 years of experience in placing folks into their careers in nursing or their new career in nursing. So this is why I hide the QR code so I can bring it forward. Once again, our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps, you hit that QR code, your career or interesting new career in nursing is solved. You hit that QR code, catch up with our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps. And when they ask how you came to Alliance Nurse Corps, you sit there and you go, SDH, yo. I don't know if that necessarily will work as a direct quote, but you tell them soccer down here. And then they know that you are coming in this way and you're a part of the future when it comes to nursing with our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps in hitting the QR code from their great sponsors and great friends with us here on all levels of SDH as we broadcast all different kinds of things here. Alliance Nurse Corps, great friends of ours here on the SDH network. Okay, so Michael, yeah, well, Ropes, it's a Friday. I mean, it's a Friday. We do have the Everton news, yes, and you mentioned Kieran Trippier to Everton. The interesting thing, since you're here, by the way, yes, Hutch, I want it now. It's very Veruca Saltish, absolutely. Since you're mentioning Ropes, what's going on with Everton? John Textor has been tapped on the shoulder, and he was asked about the whole thing. It's like, why, dude? Why? Ed Aarons at The Guardian this morning. John Textor has revealed that he attempted a total buyout of Crystal Palace, but the offer did not, quote, induce a response, end quote. So now he intends to proceed with the sale of his 45% stake in the club in order to complete a takeover of Everton. Third party to be granted a period of exclusivity by Blue Heaven Holdings. That's the Moshiri-led group that owns Everton. Been on Merseyside this week with further talks with Moshiri. Textor has to sell his shares in Palace before being allowed to conclude a deal. Guardian understands he's considering 2 offers, having invested about $150 million in the South London club since 2021. Statement on his website. So he has a website. Apparently, John Textor has his own website. Yes, johntextor.org. He owns Lyon as a part of Eagle Football Holdings. We know all about Eagle Football Holdings because of Thiago Almada being down at Botafogo before he heads to Lyon, apparently, possibly, probably, allegedly. Claimed he had made a last-ditch effort to buy out the other 3 main Palace co-owners, Steve Parrish, Josh Harris, David Blitzer, who all own 10% stakes. Texter says, it's true we made an offer to buy the remaining shares of Crystal Palace at a valuation that far exceeds levels of prior investment. We did so with a strong belief Palace has become a much more valuable club since 2021, and we respected our partners enough to offer fair value regardless of circumstances. It is also true that our offer did not induce a response, and we believe that our Palace partners have the same desire to remain in ownership as we once did, so our efforts to sell our interests resumed. We have a significant number of parties active in our process. We've received strong indications from qualified buyers. Believe strongly that we can complete a sale of our interests to continue moving forward with the next community we hope to serve, embrace, and enjoy. Keen to pursue a relationship with the Everton Club and Community. Palace, valued at £624 million by Forbes back in May, complicated by the fact that Texter's stake entitles him to only one of 4 seats on the board, with Parrish retaining the deciding vote. So Steve Parrish has the super vote. Texter, Harris, Blitzer, Parrish gets 2 votes. How does 4 turn into 5? Well, Steve Parrish counts twice. So Joachim Anderson moving to Fulham, Jordan Ayew joining Leicester for about £8 million. Interested in signing Raheem Sterling on loan from Chelsea, but once again, the £350,000 a week deal is a major stumbling block. That's what happens when you agree to that kind of a term with Chelsea. So what did we say $350,000 a week is? Was it 15? Let's see, 52. So 52 times 35 is 15.6, and so it's like what? 16.3, something like that. Quick math. It's a little over 16 million pounds a year. Chelsea's like, yeah, sure, we'll sign him to that. So 16 million pound salary for Raheem Sterling is kind of a stumbling block. Gee, I wonder why it's a stumbling block. All right. It is 9:30, and we get to see a familiar backdrop. This is one of the more cool backdrops that we have when we get to catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. It is one of the more picturesque backdrops that's available. And so once again, since it is a Friday, it's that time to catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals and find out what in the world is going on in the world of mentoring. Greg Garza, how the heck are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
Good to see you, my friend. That's when you go and you have that outdoor backdrop right there. That is one of the more picturesque backdrops that we get to see when you and Michael get to come and join us every single time.
It is pretty beautiful here, that's for sure.
Just make sure that you don't take, 2 steps to your right?
Yes.
Everything gets locked in place.
Yeah, 17th floor right now, so yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Let's see. Can you lift the computer without getting in trouble?
Give you
yeah, I want to see. Yeah, see, there we go. See how incredibly picturesque that is? Yeah. That is where Greg Garza gets to hang out occasionally.
Pretty beautiful.
Yes. I want to start from what I always ask about at the end. How are things going with Beyond Goals because of high school season and practices getting underway, college now underway, all of that stuff? Where are things with Beyond Goals with you and Cap right now?
Yeah, same old. Continuing helping kids navigate their own journey and even families through college journeys. So many different things within what we do, and sometimes helping kids who are getting involved in football season, other tennis players, other sports, and that's always the beauty behind what we do. Is there's so many values just that can be implemented in other sports as well.
Well, and this is something that I don't think we've ever had the chance to talk about, because you mentioned all of these other sports that come into the fore. When it comes to mentoring, how much of a universality is it with your soccer background and Cap's soccer background, and then having to translate it to other sports? How much commonality is there in the thought and the pursuit and the execution of things?
Yeah, there's so much overlap, right? It's very intertwined and what we talk about, and just trying to ultimately, I always tell parents and kids the things that we're speaking about are not just about sport. They're life skills, they're life hacks for you to use throughout the longevity of your life and your career and whatever you decide to do in the future. And that's what I always tell people is we are not trying to build elite athletes. We are trying to build elite people, because we want them to have an elite personality to be successful and have the tools to be successful in whatever they do.
Have you ever, in your process, discovered a life hack for your mentees that has ended up helping you out, whether it's as a father, as a mentor, as a coach? Have you found a life hack that has helped you out?
Yeah, I think many times. I think we've spoken about before that even as a mentor and somebody who, I always say is an encyclopedia of knowledge within what we did. we continuously learn, and they're very open-minded to so many kids who are so intelligent, so many intellectual kids who are just, think outside the box, or um, just even analytical kids who just, are always looking at the bigger picture of things. And for us, those are teachings and lessons for us as well, even as adults. I love diving deep into the way kids think, because they're usually always honest. They're usually always very open when you do gain and build that trust with them, and you're able to really strike some really cool aspects within their mindset, so you can use for yourself. And I think when we speak to high schools and middle schools, the kids who really grasp everything, and the kids who are really in tune and in sync with everything that we speak about, they come up with some great words or great phrases or great within our exercises that we choose to do, and within those things, you can use them in your personal life, which is awesome.
How smart is today's mentee? Because I would imagine, obviously, we're dealing with generational disconnects at times when we're trying to figure out conversations and points and learning and growth and all of that. How smart are mentees today? How smart are young men and women today?
So intelligent. Yesterday I mentored a girl from Salt Lake City who is 2015. So that means she is 2 years older than my 7-year-old. So she's 9. I would never imagine my 7-year-old sitting down and having a conversation, but she's 9 years old and was just so intelligent. So much. I think it's not even the intelligence, it's the maturity.
Yeah.
It's the maturity to be able to sit down for 30 minutes and talk to an adult that you don't really know through a computer screen. And that for me is I think in a way it's also teaching these kids the next phase and way of life for them, right? And whatever they do, they're going to be having conversations like this as an adult, within whether they're doing their meetings. I have a call on Monday morning with MLS again, so it's going through the ICA again, and it's a virtual meeting, and I'm speaking to all the new international players that are within the league and have gotten signed to give them the training, and it's through a computer, right? And I mean, obviously the face to face and person to person is so beneficial, but in today's world with so many people, this gives us the benefit to be on the 17th floor in Canada and still have a strong message and have that connection with people, which is great.
And that's I find that interesting that today, in today's day and age, with folks as young as 9, in your experience, that you are finding young men and women who are trusting enough to just sit there and sit down with you or with Michael or with whomever, and to just go ahead and say these kinds of things. I find that to be refreshing on one element, and then a bit of a surprise on a second element, just because it's not something I would normally expect from someone so young in this current example.
It's that's the coolest part for me, like I mentioned, is just their maturity, is the maturation process, and obviously helping them to gain maturity and to gain that go through that maturation process of understanding certain qualities and certain aspects that they can use for a lifetime. I always tell parents the coolest thing for me is not watching them grow up. I could give 2 craps about them growing up because it's the inevitable.
Yeah.
But watching them mature in different ways is the coolest thing being a mentor. And surprisingly, seeing how many already mature kids there are at such a young age who are just so very well spoken and such good listeners. They're good students in school. That's the whole key of this, is to help them understand certain things that will help them along the way within their soccer journey. But you look at whether it be failed prospects or kids who had the opportunity of a lifetime in front of them. One of the main reasons we do mentorship is because a lot of these kids, they grow up and have the opportunity right in the palm of their hands or right at their feet, and they're not able to grab onto it and not let go of it, maybe because of their maturity, maybe because they're not mature yet. So I think that's a huge component of it. That's a huge piece of it. And for us, that's one of the main reasons we love what we do.
Full disclosure, this morning before you came on, the opening kickoff had to do with what's currently going on with the new head coach at Chelsea and what's going on at Manchester United with players and having 9 gazillion players and having to choose what your roster is going to be. And the new head coach at Chelsea basically saying, well, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're making. I don't care what your salary is. You're going to do things my way. You're going to give 100%, Sunday through Thursday, or you ain't going to play, or you ain't going to be around, or both.
Yeah.
When you are talking to mentees, how do you impress upon them the idea of effort, maintaining effort, and making sure that they understand that giving 100% the entire time will benefit them, even if there are temporary roadblocks like not being selected, like you think you're good enough, but for whatever reason you're not a part of things? How do you discuss giving 100%?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you look at, just use the example of Chelsea. You have Raheem Sterling and Ben Chilwell, right? I think they played every single game within preseason, and then they're both not selected on the roster. And I think Enzo Maresca, right? I think he told them before, after the first game, that they weren't rostered, that they're able to seek a new spot or a new journey or wherever they want to be in the future. They're not a part of the plans, and I'm sure there's probably like 20 other players, since they have 40 players in Chelsea right now. But that's part of. I think that's a lesson that you can teach young kids, that as they get older, that even in the corporate world, it's not very romantic, is it? It's not a beautiful journey, and there's going to be times to where you feel like you're doing everything, and you might get fired, you might get laid off, and hopefully the work that you were putting into something will allow you to get that back somewhere else, right? I think personal storytelling for them is by far probably the biggest one of the biggest lessons that we can give, and experiences. I use a personal story of mine being in Portugal after Sporting and getting to another team, and maybe playing, I think out of like 40 games the whole entire season, I think I played 3 games, was training by myself, not even involved with the club. I was on the roster to be listed, but never got rostered. Coach did not favor me. I was a 19-year-old kid, and I would train by myself with the fitness coach, and they would do small-sided games, and they would do possession drills, never involved. And I think at the beginning of that season, it was very clear that they had just kind of found a spot for me and thrown me into the fire, a place to where I wasn't welcome in the first place. So that coach had no favor in me. Didn't matter if I was the first one there every single day. Didn't matter if I was the hardest working player, if I was the last one to leave, in which I was. But I never got a chance. I never got an opportunity. And so in my mind, I kind of just use that as more fuel to my fire, just to work my ass off even more. So you can use that to your benefit. And I think for myself, it was more so of just thinking, okay, I'm preparing myself for what's next. I'm not. This is a write-off of where I am right now, but I have to prepare myself mentally, emotionally, and also physically for the next spot. And I just remember in the very beginning, they would make me do fitness on the side, and the fitness. I was training with the fitness coach, and he would have me, do doggies or just run around cones, and he'd be like, "You have to do this in 10 seconds," and I would do it in 7. And over the course of the whole entire year, they'd have me do more things, and I would still, over the course of the year, I was still outbeat or outrun everyone else, or even myself, and kind of be my own biggest competitor throughout that whole entire year. And once again, although that's a roadblock, and although that's a huge upset or a downfall or a plateau or a dip that you hit, for myself, it was more so thinking about how I need to prepare myself for what's next. And that's all I was thinking about. So I think giving that story to kids, I think most kids, and Parky always says it, they see our they see our trajectory, and they think it's always up. They don't realize that we go through moments like that as well, even as professional athletes. But you can still prepare yourself for what's to come, and prepare yourself for that next chapter by still giving it your all. Because if you give up and you let go in that situation, there is not going to be a next chapter. There is not going to be a day of tomorrow. So I think personal storytelling is also a massive component to what we do.
Halftime with Greg Garza here on the Friday Free Kick from our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring at BG Mentoring on the 280 character app. In that situation, how do you keep from banging your head against the wall and sitting there going, "Oh, screw it"?
I think you do bang your head against the wall, but I think you bang your head against the wall at training. You put all that anger and you put all that frustration, that being upset, and you can kind of transform it on the field. I think James Milner gives a great podcast and a great interview about it. I mean, we're talking about a guy who I think has now just broken the record of how many EPL games that have been played. And he's never been a reference, or he's never even been a starter on any team that he's ever played on. Right now he's a reference. I mean, because he's playing at Brighton, I believe, right? So it's captain but I mean, he's been a captain everywhere he's played. But I mean, if you look at Liverpool, if you look at Man City, not somebody who is like the main reference, somebody who's kind of that versatility player, industrial player who comes in as a sub or can play every single position. But I think he gives a great interview and a great podcast just about understanding those moments of giving your absolute best and trying and working harder than everybody else, and then not getting selected in the 18 to the roster. And how do you use that? And I think it's a special mindset that you have to kind of train your brain, that even in those worst of moments, you just have to use and transform that anger in the next week, and the next week, and the next week, and the next week. Because it is so easy. You have, I think he kind of puts it to where you have one of two choices, right? If that's the type of person that you want to be, to just kind of give up and lay your arms down and just be like, all right, I give up. I don't want to do this anymore. Then that's really not going to get you anywhere in life and whatever you do. So I think he gives a great example of just himself. And then you speak about, somebody who's had more games than anybody playing in the English Premier League right now, who once again has never been a reference, but always kind of worked his way to still being useful. And I think that's a big piece of it.
That sounds like one of the hardest things in the world to do, is to dust yourself off after every day, knowing that you've given your best, and you don't know who's paying attention. You don't know if they're paying attention, because you want to be a part of the collective. And they're like, well, no, you're over there. You're over at the kids' table eating lunch, and you're doing all that kind of stuff. It sounds like to dust yourself off every day, to do the same thing over and over again, and anticipate a different result at the end of it at some point. It sounds like one of the hardest things to do.
I think it is, but once again, I think you prepare you're mentally, emotionally, and physically preparing yourself for what's next.
Okay.
Right. That's what you have to think about. And even in my position, whenever I was in that position, that's all I could think about. I wasn't thinking about the day of tomorrow, because I knew the day of tomorrow was going to be the exact same. I was thinking about 6 months from then, or 8 months from then. That was my end goal. That was my goal of just saying, okay, I obviously know this season is a write-off, but I have to prepare myself for next season, because there is going to be another door of opportunity somewhere that I have to walk in and go in and be like, okay, full throttle. I'm absolutely ready for it, because if I just lay my head down right now, and then I'm not going to be prepared for it. I'm not going to be ready for it. So I think a lot of players, this is a big one. It's a hard one to speak with kids, but if you're in a high level team and you're getting zero playing time, hopefully you're working your butt off for the next phase, or for the next club that you'll be at. There will always be a club that's available, but you just have to make sure you're the one that's prepared.
You mentioned how it's difficult to discuss it with the younger athlete. Do they understand it once you put it into context? Is it still a big mountain that they have to kind of understand, and you've got to continue to emphasize and reemphasize the point and its importance? Or do they get it faster because they're more mature these days?
I think you have to always kind of reiterate yourself and give them other personal storytelling moments, other dips and plateaus that you've kind of hit within your career, because I think that's where you build that bond and that connection and kind of build that trust. Once they do trust you, I think they kind of realize, okay, if this guy did it, then I can. I think that's a big one. I think that's a big hurdle for them to really overcome and see, but also understand. And I think that's what ultimately builds that maturity in the first place. I think sometimes they might look at their parents and they might say, okay, this person, my dad, my mom or dad have never been through anything like this.
Yeah.
And which they probably have, but just in a different circumstance. But I see when they see someone that has been in the same situation or the same shoes of them within the same sport, and somebody who has had, the ultimate success story, I think that changes their perspective and kind of gives them a better teaching and lesson on how they can move forward as well.
Okay, so let's talk about a different kind of moving forward. This week at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, after posting a 2+ minute video on his 280 character app account, Dax McCarty just decided at the end of the season, unless the conversation that he had with Sabalob Janidze can be proven, that if Atlanta United wins MLS Cup, Dax will come back for a 20th season. But Ropes wants to know what your thoughts are on Dax's retirement announcement before the season ends.
Yeah, I think a smart move by him and telling it now. I mean, do I think he could probably play another year? Most definitely. Do I think he could probably play another 2 years? Probably. I mean, it's the same thing as Jeff Larinowitz, right? They're very similar players, both redheads. You have they're both great. Like I said, industrial players that you need on your team to kind of act as a leader, but also plug away any spot that you need to plug away in with an experience. But I think a good call by him making it now and not making it at the end of the season, because I think if you make it at the end of the season, most people are not paying attention. They're focusing on the next season. So I think it shines a little bit more light on him to do it now, just to kind of have that respect and, kind of that repertoire that he obviously has as a player. And even as a person, he's done so much for the league. He's been in the league since people were making $11,000 a year. So that was probably, I would love to see what his first contract was when he was in the league. It was probably $9,000 or $11,000. So per year, guys, and that's something to say. But I mean, just somebody who has really seen the league grow. Those are people that you probably want working for the league after his career is over. Somebody that you probably want that is building those relationships with people and still heavily involved. And I honestly think he will be. I'm not sure if he has his coaching license or whatever he wants to do, but I think somebody who will be extremely involved in the growth of the league, even after his career is over. I played against Dax the very first time I played against Dax. I don't believe he was even a pro yet. I think I was probably about 13 or 14 years old, and he was on the under 20s. And so, yeah, I was a very young kid, and I remember seeing a little bitty redhead that was probably the size of most of us, as 14 and 15 years old, and he was on the under 20s. And he wasn't even the talk of their team. There were other kids that were just absolutely amazing on that team. Sal Zizzo was on that team as well. There was a lot of kids that were just really great players. But I mean, look, he made a staple of himself within the league, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I firmly anticipate that he'll be wearing a blazer and an earpiece probably in the next part of his career. So when Dax was talking about coming into Atlanta this season, it was going to be in a role that was different from what he's used to. He's used to starting. He's used to doing the minutes. He's used to putting in the time. He's used to getting 30-plus matches a year where he's in the starting 11. He was going to come to Atlanta, and the role was going to be a little different. It was going to be, you come in and the manager taps the arm late in the game. You come in out of the bullpen, give me your 20 or 30, shut the door. Give me a spot start every now and then. Coming in the second competitions like Open Cup and all of that kind of stuff. How difficult is it to adjust your mindset and your approach, knowing what we've talked about earlier here in the segment about giving 100%, even if you're off to the side, not knowing if you're going to start? How difficult is it to reorient yourself from someone who's 90, 90, 90, 90, 90 to a couple of zeros, maybe a 60, maybe a 20, maybe a 30? How difficult is that to reorient yourself when you know that your role is going to change?
I think for somebody with his experience and somebody who has been involved in the league and in the game so long. I think he's probably more than used to understanding that there are going to be different roles. I'm sure he even came in with the expectation that somehow, some way, he would find his way playing more minutes and being more involved, rather than coming in with the expectation and thinking that, I'm not going to get much playing time at all. I think for every player, you should always go in with the expectation that you're going to play more than you actually think you are, because that might happen. And I think that, the more experienced you are, the more confidence it allows you to build. It's much better to think that way, in my personal opinion, and I'm sure he probably did. He's been heavily involved with every club that he's ever played for in his whole entire career. I mean, even with Nashville, is probably a similar role, but somebody who played a massive piece to kind of their beginning success within their club. So, I think that he's probably very satisfied with where he is in his career right now, and although it's coming to an end, but like I said, probably very satisfied with everything that he's been able to conquer.
Okay, I can't let you get out of here without talking about Atlanta United. 9 matches left in the season, and they are in what our buddy Nick Alifi says, they're in a knife fight in a phone booth right now with all of the teams that are chasing after the 8 and the 9. When you look at the run-in as it is, starting in Los Angeles this weekend with MLS After Dark, and it could get a little wacky, that you've got to be on every single time just to get into the playoffs for Atlanta United. I mean, that's a different kind of pressure, where you're talking pressure for seeding and pressure to get in and to stay in because of everyone that's chasing from behind. What are you looking at from the run-in for the final 9 matches?
Yeah, it's you look at the, I think 9th right now. Is that the seeding? Is that
right? Yeah, right now they're in 9th, and everyone from like 8th to the bottom is
like 3 points away.
Yeah,
it's like 3 point separation. The West is a little different, though. It's I think the West is a little bit more spread out, if I'm not mistaken.
They are.
But man, it's every game counts now, right? I think the next 2 games are away.
Mm-hmm.
If you can pull off just any points within those games, I think you still give yourself a chance. I think if you even 2 ties within these next 2 games, I think would be key and clutch to keep dreaming. But I think you have to at least try and get a couple of points from these next 2 games.
Yeah, because you're out in Los Angeles, and then you come home, and then you go to Charlotte for a rivalry game there on the road before another bye week, before you have all the stuff at home, before you're having – I think that the L.A. match is the last match of the Western Conference this year, if I remember my schedule correctly. So you get all the other games that don't matter. They're done after Saturday night. Then the last 8 are all in Eastern Conference. And you've got to try and stay in. You've got folks behind you. You're trying to chase up ahead of you, so you avoid the 8-9. I mean, this sets itself up for having to keep your head on a swivel for 360 degrees for the final month plus of the season. I mean, you're gonna have to be like on every single day.
You have to. This is when it matters most, and it doesn't really matter how you play. It doesn't really matter what style that you play. I think even with so many changes and so many things that have changed around Atlanta United, it doesn't really matter what type of soccer that you play, as long as you're able to kind of pull off some results.
What he said. Greg, as always, my friend, even when you're up there in the T-Dot and the Golden Horseshoe, you get to hang out with us from the 17th floor. It's always great to catch up with you, my friend, and find out what's going on at Beyond Goals Mentoring. I know that business is going to pick up with a lot of different things with college and high school and the other sports that you're talking about. It's very, very cool to see what you and Cap are doing on a weekly basis. Thanks for hanging out, my friend. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing your coffee with us. Get out of here.
Of course. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Take care.
All right. Be good. Greg Garza from Toronto. Yeah, you can't chase from out front. No. You can chase. Alex says you can't chase from out front, but you can chase records from out front. You can chase barriers that others have put up there. You can chase record book from out front. No, you cannot chase from out front. You can chase others and chase the shadows, but you got to chase. I mean, the chase group right now, as we talk about it, like in the parlance of cycling, we always like to talk about that kind of a thing. Those of us who watch that Tour de France bit, The idea right now that 8 through 15 is separated by 7 points, 2, 4, 6, 8 teams, 7 points, or 7 teams, 5 points if you look at Atlanta right now. Absolutely crazy for the run-in. And Toronto's played one more match than everybody else. So Toronto's kind of a sitting duck right now at 30. And everybody else is chasing. Atlanta's at 28. That's your last slot. Philly's at 27. Same record as Montreal and a far better goals difference. Woo. Man, the goal difference right now between those two, with all of the issues going on right now in Montreal, Montreal is minus 15 in goal difference. Minus 15. That's commonly referred to as not good. So when Laurent Courtois loses, they lose big. They just lose big, bottom line. So they win tight and lose big. They've given up 49 goals, second most in the Eastern Conference. Toronto obviously is a close third, but as is New England. Man, and remember when we thought that New England was just going to be hemorrhaging goals for the entire season, the way that things had started out early for them? They've still only scored a goal a game. Literally, 23 matches played, 23 goals scored. But they've given up twice as many. And we thought that they were going to give up like 7,000 goals. They've been surpassed. DC has given up the most. DC has given up the most goals. And that, when you think about it, is a bit of a surprise, considering everything that we've been talking about all season long to this point, as we reintroduce MLS to everything. 50 goals given up by DC United. When I looked at that number, I was like, wait a minute, that kind of snuck up on me. But yeah, DC United's given up 50 goals this year. Montreal's given up 49. And then you have 47 given up by New England and Toronto. And Toronto at the same. Toronto, I mean, when you look at Toronto, Toronto's only scored 34 goals this year. But they've given up 47. So when they lose, they seem to lose big, especially on the road. At 3-8-3 on the road this year. Out west, we mentioned goals allowed. Kansas City's given up 52. St. Louis has given up 46. And San Jose, 61 goals allowed by San Jose. That is a staggering number. So that's what? 2.4 goals per match allowed. Quick math. 25 times 2 is 50. 11 over 25.44. 2.44 goals per match allowed by San Jose. 61 goals allowed by San Jose. A staggering number. But, yeah, I did not realize that DC had given up finally more goals than what we saw with New England. DC surpassed by Montreal. Toronto and New England at 47. All Caps at 46. Kansas City at 52. And San Jose at 61. But, yeah, the knife fight in the phone booth, as Nick Alifi says, 7 points separating 5 teams at the bottom of the Eastern Conference to get into the play-in. That's where we are with the run-in right now. So we got all the stuff. We got all the stuff to talk about once again here. Once again, thanks to our buddy Greg Garza for hopping in at 9:30. All the games, all the things, all the stuff. Once again, across the board, whatever's on your mind as we go here, the last hour of the show, the last hour of the week, because we got a lot of stuff to preview. All right, let's get into Major League Soccer and let you know about the juice boxes and all of the things when it comes to Major League Soccer going into the weekend. Yes, we've got news going on in England and all that kind of stuff. We've got all of that stuff to talk about as well. Early game at 6:45. Minnesota United, Seattle Sounders. Basically, the juice boxers have thrown a blanket over the whole thing. It's within the margin of error. Minnesota United's a plus 156. Draws a plus 252. Seattle is a plus 160. That's on the free side of Apple TV and Big FOX as they have their doubleheader on Saturday. In the series, Seattle has won 13 of 16. 2 draws and 1 win. Last time these two teams played in 24, Seattle won both matches 2-0. So that's what you're looking at with those two. Shots and shots on target. Seattle has the advantage on shots per 90 minutes. Minnesota United has the slight advantage in shots on target per 90 minutes. Passing accuracy right now, Minnesota, who is still calling up players from Loons 2 to help fill out the roster on short-term agreements. Seattle, passing accuracy 6 points higher, 6 percentage points higher in passing accuracy. Loons have won more duels in the air. XG is actually higher for Minnesota. And you end up with all of that to have your matchup at 6:45 on the free side of Apple TV and on Big FOX. We mentioned what's going on in the East, the West right now. LAG on top at 49 points. 9-1-3 at home this year at Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California. LAFC actually has the same home record. They played 2 matches less because of the Triple C with CONCACAF, and they are 2 points behind. RSL has a match in hand on LAG as well at 44 points. Colorado's at 41. LAFC bounced Colorado from any Leagues Cup championship, winning 4-0 in the midweek. And so now they travel to Philadelphia to take on Philadelphia Union in the third place game in Leagues Cup, while everything else is going on with Major League Soccer and everybody else is back in getting ready for the run-in. Vancouver 5th at 38 points. Houston has the same number of wins as Seattle for 6 and 7, but they have played 1 less match. Same goal difference. They've scored more goals. They played 1 less match, so the points per match average is slightly higher. Portland's at 36. Minnesota's at 33. That's your play-in. That's your playoffs. Austin and Dallas are the only 2 teams that have a shot at present during the run-in to even sniff the play-in round. Austin's at 31 points. Dallas is at 30. And then once again, we mentioned Kansas City, all caps, and San Jose, 24, 23, and 14 points respectively. 4, 19, and 2 San Jose this season. And I know a lot of folks would probably want John Fisher to sell. Sell the Quakes, sell the A's, go away. Level of investment to be desired, left to be desired in San Jose. So that's what you're staring at with the 6:45. CF Montreal, even money at home at 7:30, technically 7:40. So whatever the time is, add 10 minutes. CF Montreal plus 100, even money at home, taking on Revs. Revs are a plus 245. Once again, Stade Saputo, one of the toughest places to play. Even if CF Montreal doesn't get a win, they make it difficult for you. It's like a bad trip to the dentist's office without Novocaine most of the time. Draws a plus 274. Charlotte hosting Red Bulls. Charlotte's a plus 138 at home, taking on Red Bulls. Still lacking Emil Forsberg at a plus 183. Draws a plus 252. Morning forecast. Also at 7:30, 7:40. DC United FC Dallas. DC's on the minus side at a minus 133. Your draws a plus 326. And draws a plus 301. Messi and friends in whatever form they are. A minus 104 at home in Fort Lauderdale, taking on FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati a plus 294 on the draw, and for FC Cincinnati to win a plus 244. FC Cincinnati still with the issues at the back and having to manufacture center backs and a back line going up against Messi and friends, which is basically and friends right now. But in the battle of the weekend, when you look at the standings, how much of a battle is it going to be because of the issues at the back for Cincinnati? And what's the lineup going to look like for Messi and friends? We'll keep an eye on that. Also at 7:40, NYC and Chicago. NYC heavy on the minus side at a minus 145. Draws a plus 300. Chicago to win is a plus 359. We'll check and see what stadium that's going to be at in a bit. 8:40 starts. Houston hosting Toronto at Hell in a Shell. Big favorite at a minus 152. Toronto's a plus 386. Your draw's a plus 307. Nashville and Austin FC. Nashville is a plus 110 at home. Draws a plus 260. Austin on the road a plus 229. Also at 840, Sporting a plus 158 against the purple team. And this one's a bit of a surprise that the Juice Boxers have thrown a blanket over this one, too. It's within the margin of error in this one as well. Orlando a plus 156, Sporting at home a plus 158 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Draw is a plus 262. 940, RSL in San Jose. RSL a big favorite, no surprise, at a minus 250. If you want to touch San Jose, the draw is about plus 420. San Jose to win, almost a plus 550. We mentioned LAG and Atlanta United. Portland is a minus 143, hosting all caps. Draws a plus 330, and all caps are a plus 325. You do have the makeup match in the midweek between Philadelphia and Crew, and that one's on the 28th, where we'll be talking about the twos in Carolina Core. But no, we'll be talking about Union and Crew. The makeup game, Crew already an early favorite in that one once Leagues Cup is gone and they're back to their normal schedules. So that's what you're staring at with those matchups. And the schedule, just so it's out there, once again, as we all get ready for MLS After Dark. Free side of Apple TV weekend. Everything's on the free side of Apple TV, including the 6:45 kick on Big FOX from Allianz with Minnesota and Seattle. No back end of a doubleheader for Big FOX. They're just going to take the early match and get them to the late local news and whatever other Saturday programming they want. By the way, Leagues Cup championship matches on season pass in Apple TV at 4:30 on Sunday afternoon, Philadelphia and Colorado. And Columbus and LAFC is on season pass in Univision and Apple TV at 7:15, Columbus hosting LAFC. So that is the weekend run through everything. And we welcome in David and Fourcard and Jarrett. Welcome, sir.
Somehow alive.
Yes. Considering what your week has been, I actually
it's just a house of it's a mash unit at this house.
What I was surprised that you actually were going to make it in this week. When I heard the magic tone and saw that it was you, I was shocked.
Yeah, gotta try and end the week on a positive note.
Yes, it's like I need a minute.
Yeah, so now we're just trying to they got through the week. Everyone's alive. Everyone's in one piece.
Yes.
Oh my God, Leagues Cup's almost done.
Merciful Jesus.
Yeah, back to league play.
Yes.
9 games left.
Yes. With this matchup, when we were talking to Greg Garza in hour number 1, and I mentioned the Nick Alifi analogy of the 8-9 right now is going to be a knife fight in a phone booth in the Eastern Conference, where you can't look ahead. You can chase, and there's a decent chance, I think, that Orlando regresses a bit in the final 9 matches from the Atlanta United perspective. But you got folks behind you that are just as desperate to get in and grab your spot that you currently hold. I mean, and it starts with the league leaders in the Western Conference who must have some highfalutin lawyers on speed dial to get Marco Royce available for selection this weekend. They got some folks working.
That, or they had him set long before they announced it, and they were able to kick that off legally. There's different ways it could have worked. Like, they could have had him set up and been able to trigger all of the paperwork before they actually announced it to everybody.
Hey, government, we got a guy.
Well, but it just depends on when everything actually happened. That's kind of where it kind of sits in those situations. Is a lot of it's just timing of when stuff happens and where guys are coming from. Marco Royce, probably easier to go through that process than a guy from Russia, or a guy from Senegal. Like, it's just is what it is. Doesn't you don't have to love it, but it's kind of how it is sometimes. But my thing with Atlanta, man, is you've got a bunch of games with teams around you. Mm-hmm. You can't worry about those teams. No. You have to take care of business. You have to go to battle with what you have. You wanted to have more coming into the battle, but you don't. So you have to go to battle with what you got. And that includes Alexis Miranchuk.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully Daniel Rios is healthy. You've been getting production out of your strikers.
Yep.
Shande Silva's going to have to step up.
Yep.
He's done it in spurts this year, but you're going to need like second half of the season Shande from last year.
Yeah.
Where he was, even if he wasn't doing goal or assist a game, he was impacting the game and
Yep.
making things happen. You need that from him now because you did not improve that position.
Right.
Now, however, I know the Dessers thing hit this week for Rangers, which was weird because you had some Rangers fans that were like, "Oh my God, we were so close to getting rid of him," and others that were like, "He works his ass off, and he's the only one who's consistently scoring goals." That part's accurate. Danilo didn't come back. They needed someone else who could score goals. I don't know that Rangers could have replaced him financially or time-wise, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, and maybe he just felt comfortable in Glasgow because he is the man over there. For whatever reason, that one was apparently a rumor that you might have tried to get across the line, but the bottom line is you didn't improve those positions, so the guys who are here have to step up.
Yeah.
You need Shande to be the Shande from late last season. And you can only worry about yourself and take care of the games in front of you.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be an interesting challenge, shall we say, going up against the leaders in the West, who can come at you from about 98 different directions. Paintsel, Peck, Puj, Joveljic, Fagundes. You have Yamane and Yoshida who can overlap and come into the play. And literally, you've got Greg Vanney can tap anybody on the shoulder right now and say, engage. And, he could be like Captain Picard on the bridge of the Enterprise and just sit there and tell Georgia to go, and you go. I mean, it is a high-powered offense. It is an offense that will come at you from 19 different directions in any given time. You have to account for every single one of them. And they are one of the most potent offenses out there. I would not have anticipated seeing, a Portland as a part of this discussion, but they are one of the clubs that is north of 50 goals this year. Obviously, Messi and friends, when they win big. They're the most lethal offense right there in MLS at 56 goals. But you got a lot of folks that are in that 50 range, and LAG is one of those. And it's going to be – I was on with Tyler and Tommy and Sid on Scarves and Spikes, and I didn't mean to make this as simplistic as it is, but I think it's going to be those waves that are created by LAG when they're rushing down the field and making sure that your back four, which has had time together now, your back four at 100% in whatever form that is, can handle all of these waves of pressure and not let it get to you where, okay, they've come at me once, they've come at me twice, oh crap, here they come again. It's just, make sure that you're as in tune with the other three at the back as possible. And, maybe you end up getting a little bit of support from a Jay Fortune to help you out with 5 at the back at times to withstand these waves of pressure that I think you're going to be seeing from LAG for MLS After Dark on Saturday night.
Yeah, and I think it's, to be blunt, I think you're also going to be seeing how you can dictate the pace of the game. And if that means a little bit of shithousing, that means a little bit of shithousing.
Welcome back.
Well, what I mean by that is, like, so often we've seen Atlanta have control of games, and then games kind of hit a lull. Somebody breaks up play, somebody stalls things out. Anything you do to kind of break up the Galaxy, I think you do it.
Mm-hmm.
You do whatever you can to try and make it happen.
I admittedly have not seen Retrograde yet, the new episode of Behind the Stripes. I have yet to see Retrograde, even though we all know what's going to be there. But I will give the franchise, and I will give the folks that pieced that thing together all the credit in the world for what we've been able to see so far this year. when it comes to this run in, like I said, this is the last Western Conference game. And then you focus on yourself, but everyone around you is going to be focusing on the same thing and trying to claw their way in. From a general question, how chaotic are you anticipating the run in the Eastern Conference? Are you anticipating, like I am, that Orlando drifts back to the mean a little bit and comes closer to the 8-9 because we always seem to see that Oscar Pareja does the slow fade late in the year when it comes to Orlando City? What are you looking at in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, I'd kind of be interested to see if he repeats that. Just to your point, John, it's happened multiple times before. We've seen that happen with Oscar, that he just kind of, he kind of backs off the accelerator as the race goes along.
Yeah.
Comes in and takes 4 tires instead of taking 2.
Yes.
And we're talking like 1990s pit stops.
Yes.
Not modern day where it was like, Jeff Gordon's Rainbow Warriors were the like pacing the world and how you did pit stops.
Yes.
But a little more pragmatic in the way he does things. But I think the rest of the East is just going to be a dogfight. Like, I'm not going to sit here and like give up, like tell you it's a bold declaration that it comes down to decision day. But with the bodies you have there, and it's not even just quality, it's just quantity of bodies.
Yeah,
I could absolutely see it where like on decision day, the playoff situation changes like 4 times in the span of 2 hours because you have so many teams involved here, and really so many imperfect teams, so many flawed teams who have look, it's MLS. No one's really perfect. As we've seen this year, again, when the Sickos committee released their top 25, it had San Jose in it, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it really should have had Atlanta in it, who has been middling, let's be honest, this season in the results. However, they also beat Miami on the road and then beat Columbus. Like that's Sicko's energy right there.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna power up basically the MLS version of the Pitt super weapon.
Yes.
And we're going to point it at the 2 biggest teams in the East and the 2 biggest teams in the league. And and you damn near pulled a draw out of LAFC while playing down a man. And the only goal LAFC scored in that game was because of a deflected set piece.
Yeah.
After your keeper was sent off, and then the league came back and said your keeper probably shouldn't have been sent off, and VAR completely screwed the pooch.
Oops.
I swear to God, I operate in the same black helicopter theory with Pro and Atlanta United as I do with the Hawks. And when Mike Budenholzer was here, Budenholzer bumped a ref, wasn't suspended, and it felt like for a while after that, Atlanta was getting short end of the stick from the NBA refs because the referees weren't even suspended. He wasn't suspended.
Yeah.
Darren Eels and Co. going on 92-9. Back in 2019 going forward, back when like MLS wasn't as transparent, but they would, tell the club off to the side, hey, we messed up that call. Our bad. There was like 2 weeks in a row where like MLS missed a blatant penalty that, my God, Home Field Apparel did a Kennesaw State collection. Well, I guess I'm spending my money this weekend.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah.
But I still wonder if like Black Helicopter, if Pro occasionally with Atlanta United's like, you know what? Let's let that one slide. That'll teach you to talk. But the fact is that both of these teams are very flawed. Or both a number of these teams in the bottom half of the East and the middle half of the East are very flawed. And that makes for a compelling games to watch because they can be sloppy, they can be high scoring, they can be loose, they can be drunk. But you have a lot of these flawed teams that are just going to be jumping in the ring and trading blows. Their left guard is not really going to be up if we're assuming they're like right-handed fighters.
Yes.
They're just going to be swinging.
Yep. One thing we have yet to get into is the ref assignments where we can anticipate our oopsies for the match week 29. And we'll kind of buzz through and give you the greatest hits. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is the man in the middle for Minnesota United and Seattle. Fotis Bazakas is your 4th. Charlotte and Red Bulls, Drew Fisher is in the middle for that one. David Barry. We all know David Barry. David Barry was your VAR for the matchup against LAFC and Atlanta United. David Barry is your VAR for Charlotte and Red Bulls. Sergi Boyko is the man in the middle for DC United and FC Dallas. Maybe Jose Carlos Rivero can try to attempt to talk him out of a correct decision when it comes to VAR. Messi and friends in FC Cincinnati. So for Miami and Cincinnati, Armando Villarreal is in the middle. Kevin Stott is your VAR. CF Montreal and all of their issues, or just all of their ish, and the Revs get Izmir Pekmic in the middle. Philip Dujic is your fourth. Yunus Marakci is your VAR. NYC and Chicago at Citi Field. Malik Badawi is the man in the middle. John Freeman, no relation, is your VAR. Houston and Toronto. Ted Uncle in the middle at Hell in a Shell for Houston and Toronto, balanced by Corey Rockwell as one of your ARs. Kevin Terry Jr. is your VAR. Sporting and the purple team get Timothy Ford. Timothy Ford is your ref, and Chris Penso is your VAR for Sporting in Orlando City. Nashville and Austin at Geodis. Rosendo Mendoza is the man in the middle. Lucas Zapala is your fourth. Edvin Jurasevich is your VAR. RSL in San Jose. Ricardo Fierro is the man in the middle. Daniel Radford is your VAR. LA Galaxy and Atlanta United. Rubiel Vasquez is the man in the middle. Kevin Stott is your VAR. Portland in all caps. Remy Tuchon is the man in the middle. Victor Rivas is your fourth. Yunus Marakci is your VAR. So I noticed this, and I don't know if I'm the only one that is driven crazy by this, and I probably should reach out to our friends at Pro about this. The idea of doing back-to-back VAR on a Saturday night. There are instances where you have folks do a West Coast game in VAR, and then they do a West Coast game in VAR. So they'll do a 7:40, and then they'll do a 10:40 or an 11:10. I don't like that, just on the premise of, okay, you're having to be sharp for a second match during a match day. And I don't know if it's because, and this is where the conversation with Pro has to come in, I don't know if it's because of a lack of VAR. I don't know if it's because that's just what they feel they should do with VAR, is be okay with the idea of a day-night doubleheader. And are they, meaning Pro, in the process of steering individuals to be straight up VAR? Meaning, okay, maybe you can't handle it on the field anymore. Maybe you should go upstairs and become a permanent VAR. So I got questions, and I'm not a fan of the day-night doubleheader when it comes to dudes doing VAR from the office.
VAR is easier. At least you're not moving around. Better than asking someone to officiate multiple matches in a row. Yeah. That would be more egregious to me.
Yeah.
Be a conversation for Bart.
Yes. To
have to officiate multiple matches like that, especially at top flight. But I don't mind VAR doing two games as much. You're kind of just sitting there looking at the if Dan Blandino can sit there and talk about calls for multiple games, I think you can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Dean Blandino can do XFL and all that kind of stuff. Okay. News from the twos just came across the social medias. If you are a student, or if you know a student that is on campus tonight for Action at the Fraction, with your student ID, you can get Action at the Fraction for $1. I feel like I need the drop from the from Trading Places. $1. You can get in tonight, Action at the Fraction, Orlando City B and Atlanta United 2. $1, Action at the Fraction tonight with a student ID. And home field, we hate you for what you've done in creating this new Kennesaw State line of clothing, because we're all going to be poor. I hope you're happy. We know you are. By the way, yes.
I would just like to point out that, and because I told y'all this earlier, my in my CFB 25 dynasty, I left Kennesaw to take the LSU job because, of course, I did.
Uh,
Kennesaw still made a national title without me. So
see,
I think I choose to believe that the game is engineered for Kennesaw to become a like early 2000s Miami powerhouse.
see, there you go. That to me, that's fun. That's absolutely fun. That you did not leave the cupboard bare. You might have portaled a little bit, knowing you if you were the head coach at LSU. You probably portaled a little bit. Some of your guys went with you from Kennesaw State to LSU. So I'm wondering, you did not leave that cupboard bare, and I give you full credit. David says with the day-night doubleheaders, most of us sickos here watch that much soccer in a night. I know. David, to be perfectly honest with you, when it comes to me and my viewing habits, it'll start with the Premier League, the Prem in the morning, and that'll take up most of the day. Then I'll drift into probably, some of the other European divisions, maybe some Central and South American stuff that happens early in the afternoon. I'll catch up with our buddy Nino Torres on Gold TV, and I'll watch maybe Portugal or something like that just because it's Nino on the call. Then night side, it goes into Central and South America. It'll drift into Liga MX, maybe Major League Soccer if there's something there that's worth watching. But since Atlanta United will be MLS After Dark, that will be hour number 12 to 14 of watching on a day. So that's kind of where my viewing habits are going to be on Saturday. Oh, crap, I forgot. Florida State's playing Georgia Tech in
They're in Ireland. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah. At noon. So I might have to have a multiple screen experience. And I know that the boss is going to want me to yell, to see me yell for 3 hours or 3.5 hours, because I do not anticipate. I will say this. By the way, welcome back to college football. I do not anticipate that Florida State will cover the double digits, because I think it's like 10 and a half, somewhere in there. I do not anticipate them covering that number. I just don't, just because it's the first game of the season. And, look, you send, there's a great article up at the 4-letter, by the way, and it discusses how everything was shifted and or moved to have both of the teams, meaning Florida State and Georgia Tech, get everything they thought they needed to get to the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. Right now, Florida State is a 10-point favorite, total 55.5. I don't know if they get to 55.5. I don't know if they get to the 10. So I don't anticipate this being a cakewalk for Florida State at all. But right now they're a 10 and 55.5. That's your total. So that's where we are with the beginning of the college football season. But there's a great article up at the 4-letter about how you had to fill out all the paperwork to the letter, as to, I'm bringing, Tabasco sauce, I'm bringing Worcester, and you've got to line item everything from toilet paper and how many rolls you're bringing to all of the seasonings and the snacks that are not available in Scotland that you're bringing with you, athletic tape, all those things. There's a fantastic article about how they had to go through all of this. Osceola and Renegade are not there because the horse would have to be quarantined on the way back into the country, which would mean that you would lose them for the Boston College game. You would lose that. So the horse did not make the trip, and neither did the Ramblin' Wreck for Georgia Tech, because once again, it gets shipped, and I mean on a boat. It would have to go on a boat from Savannah, probably, to Scotland, off the boat, checked. Okay, you're here at the game, woo. Then it goes back on the boat, and it would miss the Georgia State game. And so Georgia Tech was like, no, that's not going to happen. Apparently, they offered up, they meaning the folks that are running the college football game that we're talking about, they offered up the idea of a Peugeot, something akin to It's like, yeah, we got a rambling wreck, but here it's a Peugeot instead. Thank you, Dublin, Ireland. Ireland, Scotland, it's all the same to me at the moment. But you literally, the folks that run the College Football Classic, they said, well, what if we give you like a Peugeot that kind of looks like the rambling wreck? And they were like, nah, we appreciate it, but no. So no horse, no car in Dublin. So it's like, well, they kind of wanted to be close. I guess they wanted to kind of round off to the celebrations. The folks in Dublin really wanted Osceola and Renegade. They really wanted the two of them there, but obviously because of the quarantine coming back into the country, you'd miss a home game, and Florida State was like, nah, I can't do that. So no horse, no car, but football is at noon on Saturday, and apparently also, sidebar, unrelated, Delaware State has made it to Hawaii for the game at midnight after apparently one of their buses got into a head-on collision on the way to the airport, and they missed their flight. And so they finally did make it to the Big Island, and they have made it for the matchup against Hawaii at the TC Ching Athletic Complex. And as a celebration for them making it, Hawaii was running a special on tickets in the end zone for $10.50 a piece. It's almost a sellout already, but they were running a special for $10.50 because they were like 10 and a half hours late or something. So you could pick up a ticket for Delaware State and Hawaii, be in the end zone in the corner for $10.50. But apparently Delaware State is on the Big Island, and they've made it there in one piece. So
Listen, I like this idea from David of talking about the invasions.
Yes.
The one we need, we might not know we need it, but what we need is we need to re-kick the LSU Wisconsin series, which was a competition to see who could contract like liver failure more quickly among two fan bases. We should play it in Dublin.
Okay.
Like, we should send our best. Send our most unhinged fan bases that will try as hard as they can to drink a city dry. Let's send them to Dublin. Not just because Ireland is just for drinking. It's more than that. But have some fun with this. Let's get weird.
Yeah.
Let's get very, very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, because they'll find something to do there, and especially if you can set up some sort of competition, do the shot competition at the College World Series, because if you remember last year, you set up the shot competition, and LSU went and set the record, including the founder of I think the founder of Canes rolled in there and dropped $25,000 just to do it, just so they would have the record, because they couldn't stand the idea of Baton Rouge losing a competition in which there was drinking involved. Let's start sending our unhinged groups over there. Let's set up some local fundraisers in the Dublin area and other areas of Ireland to raise money for areas that need it.
Yes. And
let's send our most unhinged fan bases that have zero qualms with parting with their money or common sense.
Mm-hmm. So an SEC team and another team that is completely and totally unhinged, send them over to do those kinds of things. No, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I think that we should return the favor from all of these international matches.
It's the busiest 3 days ever of the Guinness Tour and the Jameson Tour, and could ruin the city. I mean, you could put some take a percentage out of that for fundraiser. Hell, man, let's get to the table about trying to fix up any parts of Ireland that need it. We'll help them out.
Oh man, yeah. See, anything around the stadium, who needs the help, and what can we do to challenge them for something like that? What if you did shot glasses of Guinness or shot glasses of Jameson or something, and for each of the shot glasses, $1 would go to insert cause here or something like that. So that would be, I would dig that completely. Tonight, once again, we talk about Atlanta United 2, and we mentioned where they are right now. Maddie and Team the Dream are calling the game, 7 o'clock pregame, 7:33 kick, and get in for $1. If you know a Kennesaw State student, get him into the match for $1. Get him into the match for $1. And it's, part of the season because of the number of home matches that Steve Cook and the Twos played out of the blocks. It was 8 of 9, 7 of 9 to start, then 8 of 9 on the road, or vice versa. And now we're back into the playing a whole lot on the road in a very short period of time. And then Atlanta United 2 is finally getting a home match, and it's one of the few remaining home matches they have this season, as a matter of fact. After today, 2 more home matches for Atlanta United 2. The rest are on the road. So after today, 2 more home matches. One of them is Huntsville City, September 15th, and the other is Messi and Friends 2 on the 24th. But September is a sprint with 6 matches in 28 days. But the Twos tonight hosting Orlando City B. It's on season pass. And it looks like Eric Centeno will not be available for selection tonight because of the ankle injury that he suffered in Fort Lauderdale. Big loss on the right-hand side for Atlanta United 2. We'll see what Steve Cook has in mind on the right-hand side for right back. So we'll see what happens there tonight with Atlanta United 2. And speaking of Atlanta United 2, the host of the pre and the half, Madison Cruz. Maddie Cruz is with us for the first time in 9 years.
No, I know. I'm so happy. I actually got up on time to
got up on time. I'm sending you a 7. No, I'm sending you a 7-year-old to modify your sleep schedule.
Listen, my sleep schedule is so messed up because we'll have training early, so I'll have to get up, and then obviously I have to do my hair, put on makeup because girl things.
Well,
got to do
that and the reporting from the
exactly. And so that one I have to get up early. Then I'll have a day where I don't have to do anything till the evening. Mm-hmm. So then I'm okay, well, let me catch up on sleep that I didn't get the night before. And it's fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're up because I was tuning into the U.S. Open session that they were having.
The conference call type device that they were discussing things on?
Absolutely.
What was being discussed? Anything of any import?
They were talking a lot about just obviously the success that U.S. soccer had at the Olympics this year with U.S. women's national team, U.S. men's national team. Mm. They gave a couple toasts, as they should, because Emma Hayes is absolutely she's insane, and I love her. I love Emma Hayes. Anyway, not the point, but literally it was a good couple minutes of them talking just about Emma Hayes. And I was as they should, because it's Emma Hayes.
Yes.
She's insane. So it was pretty much a lot of that, talking about just some of the updates throughout the league and kind of just what's been going on over there. And then a little bit of an update on the training ground. They just got I believe my wording might be completely wrong. That's embarrassing. I'm so sorry. Hey, I'm back and it's already.
She wastes no time with cell signals and everything.
Y'all, I don't know what's happening.
Notifications are happening. She didn't put her pager on stun.
This is reason number 2 that I have a hybrid smartwatch. One is I like having a physical watch that I can look at to see the time. The other thing is I keep my phone on silent, and my wrist I get a vibration on my wrist whenever someone actually needs something.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mostly because at this point I flinch when I hear a ringtone.
Yes, absolutely. No, I am right there with you, sir. So, since you're mentioning things on a national perspective, there, Maddie. Weston McKennie signs a new deal with Juve through 2026. The club has announced that this morning. McKinney's contract was set to expire in June of 25. He'd been linked with a move away from Serie A this summer. Interest in the player from the Bundesliga, Premier League, and from Fiorentina, not to mention apparently, allegedly, possibly, probably FC Cincinnati. But after a turbulent summer, according to Tom Hamilton at the 4-letter, he's extended his contract with Juve, found himself left out of the squad for the final 2 preseason matches. McKennie, Wojciech Szczesny, and Chiesa all exiled. We've been talking about exiling this morning, too, with manager Thiago Motta saying, quote, they have to find a new solution and new club as soon as possible, end quote. Szczesny has since left the club after coming to a mutual agreement with Juve to terminate his contract. Chiesa still out of the squad, linked to Barca, But McKinney returned to first-team training at the end of last week. Thiago Mota said, first of all, McKinney is a useful and functional player for our needs. Unused sub in the win against Como on Monday. Extension takes him through the 26 World Cup, started all 3 of the Copa America group stage matches, featured for 34 matches with Juve last year. So Weston McKennie, apparently, last week was like, nah, he's got to go find a new place to play. Now, he signed an extension through 2026. So just when you thought Weston McKennie was done at Juve, he's not done at Juve. So he signed a deal, and he's going to stay for another year. On the back end.
Do you know that GIF of the meme from The Simpsons where Moe throws Barney out of the bar and then he stands there and Barney just appears behind him back in the bar?
Wow, that happened.
That's Weston McKennie. Like every window, like he is the John Collins of Juve.
Wow.
Every window, there's a discussion that Weston McKennie's gone. He has no future here. He's not in this manager's plans. And by the end of the window, Weston McKennie signed an extension.
Yes.
He's actually not going anywhere, guys.
No, he's back.
Nothing matters.
Yes.
Nothing's real.
Nothing's real around here. Let's see. Speaking of stuff overseas, Dominic Solanke set to miss the matchup with Everton with an injury. Okay, Gundogan has opened up on a difficult Barcelona spell, as he is now back, and he's wearing number 19, apparently. Back for a 1-year deal. Turned down a contract extension to link up with to go to Barca. After 1 year, he's back and looking for quotes. Talking to social media, he said the nice things. And let's see, leaving in a difficult situation. Nevertheless, it's been a time of ups and downs. So he said some nice things, and then he said, I'm back to Manchester City folks. So, okay, Gundogan back. Yves Bissouma is set for a return for Spurs after being suspended for video showing him inhaling nitrous oxide. So that lasted like a couple of weeks.
Who was the offensive line? Was it Lyle Collins? Or no. Lyle Collins was from LSU. Who was the Ole Miss lineman?
Laramie Tunsil.
Laramie Tunsil. Like the night of the draft, they dropped the picture of Laramie Tunsil with basically a Chernobyl level gas mask, using it to hotbox. Like, yeah, just drop one of those. You don't have to you don't have to do the nitrous oxide thing. Just get a gas mask from the 1970s and just do that.
Yes. Yeah, just do something like that and post it, even if it's what if I just post this, Oh, you're suspended. Well, I needed a break anyway. Let's see. It looks like Jude Bellingham is out a month with an injury. He's going to miss the upcoming England matches. Burnley confirmed that Johan Bergudmundsson has joined the Saudi Pro League. Mazel tov and congratulations to you. Let's see. Bournemouth in talks with Chelsea over a loan move for Kepa. That's according to David Ornstein. Kepa would need to extend his Chelsea contract ahead of any switch, likely agree to a wage cut. Bournemouth won't cover 100% of Kepa's wages unless they are reduced. And Thomas Frank asked about Ivan Toney for the 19th week in a row. If he's going to feature against Liverpool, Thomas Frank says, who knows? Ivan trained the whole week with a good attitude. He could be here after August 30. He could not be. Everything is still up in the air. Saudi Pro League window shuts on September 2. Ivan Toney is looking at all options there. So let's see. PAOK has announced the signing of American left back Jonathan Gomez. Brian Sciaretta said he had a dead end in Spain, never got into the U.S. Olympic picture at left back. Get a nice opportunity for the Greek champs, just needs to play. And so important that it is a transfer to PAOK and not a loan. So Jonathan Gomez is now over at PAOK in the Greek league. So that is some of the news. Once again, adjust your fantasy teams. We do not have our fantasy news out for the Jason Wright Agency League. So Jason Wright, AGEN on Twitter with a W, Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. Don't forget to set your leagues, set your lineups in your leagues and all that kind of stuff, because you've got a great chance of beating me in both the promotion relegation league and in the league in general. So here's your chance to do it, and do it on a weekly basis. So there you go. Maddie, we haven't had the chance to catch up with you about Atlanta United. I know that we've kind of been dancing in and around topics this morning. When it comes to Atlanta United and LAG, I know that you spent some time up at the training ground like all week long before they left you. in Atlanta yesterday to fly to Los Angeles. But what kind of a match? What has it been like since you've been on the at the training ground all week? What has the vibe been like heading into the run-in, since not all of us have been there?
It's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. I mean, on Tuesday, we went up there. They had the open session with a lot of the supporters. So they were up there, got the chance to watch the full session up there. Obviously, we had the press conference talking about Dax McCarty retiring at the end of this season. But I mean, the message is the same, I think, through everyone, even through Marunchuk as well. It's they want to win. They want to try and make it through. I mean, I think it was in Dax's retirement. It was really funny. He talking to Saba. Apparently, Saba made him promise that if they win the cup, he's coming out of retirement.
Yeah, year 20.
Year 20. But I mean, the vibe is it's, they want to win. They want to come out. They feel like that they had it. They had the time. Which someone asked Rob yesterday. Is it a bit of an issue or like a deterrence that you haven't had an actual league match in 3 weeks? And actually, he kind of said something of the opposite, because if you remember the schedule for Atlanta United leading up into Leagues Cup, leading up into the regular season before the break, I mean, it was like they would go on a trip, they'd go play a game, they'd come back, they'd have a day off, then they'd come back, have to recover, wouldn't get a full, really good, solid week of training, because then they're back on the road again facing another team. It's a compressed schedule, and it can affect. It has an issue, and it can cause some issues, but you have this break and you have the opportunity to really clean some things up, try new things, integrate some new people, see what you can do, and everything else. And another big standout is Marunchuk. Everyone who we've talked to said that you can definitely see the quality of who he is as a player and what he's going to bring to the pitch.
Any clue as to the amount of minutes that Miranchuk is going to get? Is he going to be one of those, hey, Alex, can you give me 45? You'll start. Give me 30 to start things off at the back. Any clue as to what Rob and the staff were thinking about Miranchuk in Los Angeles?
It's still up in the air. He was asked about it yesterday in media. It's still kind of up in the air. They're still waiting, I think, for a couple of things to come through. Obviously, he was in preseason. He was not in season when he was in Italy. So that also has some things to do with it. He's had a couple of days training with the team. I think it honestly just depends on what those physicals bring back and what's going on there. And I guess we'll find out on tomorrow. This is tomorrow. Oh my God, it's tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow night.
Whew, I've lost track of all of my days.
Time doesn't matter anymore. It's
a construct.
It is a construct. I agree.
It's a theory at best.
Yes.
I like it.
We should be using our energy to go across the street to the sketchy ass dorms in the stadium and convincing them to all come to the game tonight for a dollar.
Yes. Listen, I'm trying. I really am.
We'll email JD and just tell everybody they get I don't know, it's August. Classes just started, but I don't know, a couple points on your midterm, just show up.
Exactly. I will say though, the home field KSU.
Oh, good Lord!
So cool that I want it.
Which one are you going to get? Yes.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes, all of them.
Yes.
Every single one.
Damn you, home field. Home field has decided to put up a KSU collection, and they are evil people, and we hate them for it.
Why did they do this to me? All I want is to not have to spend money. And
home field breaks news during the show. Teams don't break news during the show. Home field breaks news, and they want to break our wallets at the same time. I see how this works.
Good guy, home field.
Yes. So home field knows when to break news
break news during the show. Twos broke news during the show with that. I mean, that's great. Actually, Maddie, I meant to ask you, because you spoke to everyone in training, is Neri available for tonight's matchup?
Ooh, I believe he is available. He should be available. He had that game suspension due to the red card. He should be available for tonight's match, but I can get confirmation from Will, our trusted friend over there at United. I will ask him before I get there, and I will confirm for y'all.
Okay.
So I only ask because it would be peak MLS Next Pro in their inability to properly communicate like civilized human beings with dignity and self-respect if they gave him a violent conduct and like added another game on and just didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Because in the availability report, he's not listed on like that he's out.
Right.
He's listed to be on the game day roster. So I'm under the impression that it was just a one game and that he can play.
Yeah.
John Roper, to your Sunday morning is too far in the future for me to think about. Like, everyone in my house has been sick all week. I'm just trying not to die right now.
And unfortunately, John, I will be up in Athens with our beautiful photographer, Sophia Cupertino. We will be covering KSU versus Georgia.
There you go. That's the way it should
be brutal.
Let's see. Melinda,
not the drive to Athens. Just
no.
KSU versus Georgia.
Yeah. Melinda Homa will be in the middle for the matchup against OCB. Marcus Ross and Joshua Belk, your ARs. And your fourth is the Scrabble player's dream, Alexander Zhelyashkov. He'll be your fourth tonight for the matchup. But the way that it might go for the broadcast tonight, Maddie, there might be special guests. All right, special guest. There might be. I know you're angling for that probably as a part of the broadcast.
Maybe, more than likely, possibly. But you will have a new special guest joining us, who is, if I believe it's first time this season.
Yeah, Mateen the Dream. Yeah, he's calling
it.
Yeah, Mateen the Dream. Yeah, Mateen the Dream's calling it with you tonight, and Mateen Rod, looking forward to that on the call. I was explaining to folks that you'll get the highlights from last time out. You'll get the conversation with Steve Cook, chasing after special guests to hang out possibly during the pregame and or halftime before everybody races to get post-game after the match against OCB. But yeah, the broadcast, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. It's on our Mixler channel. Set your notifications for SDH, and you get to hear Maddie starting at 7, kickoff at 7:33 tonight. Big matchup in the East against Orlando City B. So it's going to be a fun one, especially if Kennesaw State students spend $1, bring their ID, wander over from the apartment complex across the street, and come and hang out for a Friday night.
I'm going to go over there and bang like pans together to wake them up to make sure that they come.
Yes. And David, KSU-related trivia, yes, 4 college football teams in the country. KSU is one of them, and Texas San Antonio is playing all 4.
Correct.
Oh, my God.
The Roadrunners have to go through the Owl Gauntlet.
Yes, it is Kennesaw, Rice,
Temple,
and Florida Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
All 4, yeah, they play the entire parliament of college Division I.
The entire parliament. That's perfect.
They have to play the entire parliament.
I know. It's perfect.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so that's your KSU / AAC / whatever other conference you want to throw in there. Confusa stuff for the week. There are actually, now that we're turning this into the OSG Sports Review, there are actually 5 programs that are starting college football this year, various levels. And so we'll be keeping an eye on that on the college football side of things. But that's the college football side of things.
I'm so excited for college football.
Tomorrow at noon, you can watch the Rambling Wreck with their Celtic knotted helmets.
That's a gorgeous helmet, but I'm going to be pulling my hair out for 3.5 hours. I hope.
First of all, someone put the Hawaii game on the watchability scale at like 0.1, which is no, never.
Yeah, it's
Hawaii plays at midnight.
Well, 11:59 because of the juice box make goods. It's 11:59. It's an 11:59 registered kick, East Coast time, at the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex. Hawaii is a 40.5 point favorite, and the total's 56.5.
That's not a 0.1 on the watchability scale. It's at least a 4 or 5, because you can't play a game that late at night without really stupid things happening, especially when a team missed their initial flight to get in.
Yeah, absolutely. And but like I said, Delaware State has made it, and this was a matchmaker game, because remember, this was where Hawaii was supposed to play Oregon. And Oregon was like, nah, we're good. And so a matchmaker comes in and sets up Hawaii with Delaware State. I don't know how much Delaware State is getting paid for this. I don't know how many players Delaware State's bringing over to the Big Island. Maybe 60, maybe 50. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe 60 plus staff. But you can get in. It is football on a budget, by the way. Outside of the game that is in Dublin, every other game that's going to be played on Saturday is football on a budget. Montana State, New Mexico in Albuquerque, get-in price of $15. SMU at Nevada in Reno, get-in price $12. And then if you can still get in the door with the tickets in the end zone, you can get in for $14 for Delaware State and Hawaii. And I give college football a lot of credit. They staggered the kickoff times so they don't interfere with one another. Florida State and Texas at noon. Montana State, New Mexico is at 4. SMU, Nevada is at 8. Delaware State and Hawaii is at 11:59 Eastern time. So,
and as always, if you ever need this information, my go-to for all this is still lsufootball.net, which is, and it's not just an LSU site, because there's a link at the top for just TV schedules. Right. lsufootball.net, which looks like it was made with GeoCities and still looks like that to this
probably
day.
Was.
Like this thing was built when Netscape was the primary browser before Microsoft pushed Internet Explorer on everybody.
And you click on the Netscape logo and the dragon comes out.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. But this has the TV schedule for every game.
Every game.
It is a blessing.
Yes. So quickly, getting into the other leagues and everything, we talked about MLS, we talked about Atlanta United, we talked about all that other stuff, all the juice boxes we laid into that. The USL Championship, we'll get into that, and we'll talk about the Premier League odds and numbers and things. Stephen Glass gets a contract extension through the 25 season at Memphis 901. Very, very cool to see that. USL Championship this weekend, Bob Lilly goes to Birmingham to yell at his players at 7:30 Eastern time against Birmingham Legion. They are an underdog. Charleston and Orange County. Charleston's a big favorite. Tampa Bay and the Miami FC. The Miami FC, by the way, is plus 1,000 to win in the composite because they're hideous. I think they've only won twice this season. Colorado Springs hosting New Mexico at 9 o'clock. Then out west, it is Monterey Bay and El Paso. Oakland Roots and Memphis 901. Oakland has announced the seating plan next season for when they play at the Oakland Coliseum. It's going to go down the third baseline. So it'll be like most setups for television. The goal line will be first baseline. Goal will be that way, and action will go from first baseline out to left field at the Oakland Coliseum next season for Oakland Roots when they play at the Coliseum as they get their modular stadium prepared. Vegas Lights and Indy 11 at 10:30. Phoenix Rising, North Carolina FC at 11. Sacramento Republic is a big favorite at a -161 as San Antonio FC comes to town and they try to take care of business there. USL League One, it is One Knox, who is moving into Fred Meyer Stadium in downtown where the Knoxville Smokies used to play. Next season, they're going to be playing in the minor league ballpark that is being renovated downtown. Charlotte's a big favorite at home as Central Valley comes to town. Lex SC, big underdog at home as Forward Madison comes to town. And then Union Omaha and Richmond Kickers. Union Omaha is a big favorite as Richmond comes to town. I imagine that's at Warner Park in Papillion, Nebraska. Remember the conversation that we had with Marion Crowder and with the activity going on in the USL Super League. USL Super League is going on again this weekend, and it's going to be all on Peacock, and you can keep an eye on. That's where all of the games are going to be. All the games are going to be on Peacock, and then you can go YouTube, DAZN, and all that other stuff to try and find all the others. The other games this weekend, what you can watch and where to watch it. Saturday, it is Tampa Bay hosting DC Power, one of the coolest looking venues out there at Riverfront. Sunday afternoon at American Legion, Carolina Ascent is hosting Lex SC. And so that's the activity in the USL Super League as we go there. Quickly in the Prem, as we look at things there, once again, don't forget to fix your fantasy teams as we go. And we mentioned the injury to Dominic Solanke, so that might affect some folks at striker, and you might have to go in a different direction. So Saturday is Brighton, Manchester United. That's the early game. 10 o'clock, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Fulham, and Leicester. Manchester City and Ipswich. If you can go heavy Manchester City, I probably would. Southampton hosting Nottingham Forest. Spurs hosting Everton. 12:30 is Aston Villa hosting Arsenal. Sunday early, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Wolves, and Chelsea. The late game on Sunday is Liverpool and Brentford. Maddie, any other thoughts before we get out of here?
Listen, you all need to come out to the twos tonight. And if you're not there, I'm going to be upset and I'm going to be sad. And I'm going to come on the morning show the next Monday and I'm going to be really upset. So come on to Fifth Third Stadium tonight.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a KSU student and you're listening to this, I'm going to clip this and I'm going to post it. Come on out. $1 ticket. It's free. It's every college kid's dream. You get to go to a game for $1. When does that happen? Never. Come on out. It'll be a lot of fun.
Figured I'd give it a little time for pad when you edit and clip it and post it to your social
Oh,
media.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the layout was on purpose. It was not accidental. Jarrett, what else is on your mind before we get out of here?
Windows closed, like we talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
You now have the horses that you're going to run with.
Yep.
Make it count. A lot of bodies between you and the end of the season. Same goes for the twos, honestly. The twos are fighting back and have worked their tail off.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what you got.
Yep.
Show me something and show whoever they hire in the offseason something. Because as we talked about before, it's not just about the season. You got guys out here who will be playing for jobs next year.
Mm-hmm. Jobs across the board being played for in the run-ins for both the twos and Atlanta United. Once again, remember, 7 o'clock pregame with Maddie, maybe special guests, and Mateen the Dream, and play-by-play kickoff 7:33 on the network, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. The post-game show will be a separate show because Maddie and Dream have to go and get post-game, and then they'll grab it, and we'll piece it together with the highlights and stuff. So it'll be a short wrap by Maddie and Mateen before they go and get post-game sound. Twos Review will be up separately on the network, so set your notifications there as well. As always, it's been a fantastic week. Thanks to all of you folks for being with us. As we always pick up the morning show at 9:05 on Monday through Friday. We'll be back Monday morning to talk about things on a Reaction Monday. Find out what happened MLS After Dark. Find out what happened about the twos. And hopefully it's going to be positive results across the board. So for Maddie, for Jarrett, I'm just John. You know what that means. Since it is a Friday, we have to set the proper tone for the remainder of the day to get you in to your weekend. Play it safe, everybody. Be safe. Enjoy all of the action and enjoy everything here on SDH. We'll be back Monday morning. Actually, we'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock for pregame. I'm jumping ahead of things. So 7 o'clock pregame tonight. Then we'll be back with the morning show on Monday. Enjoy.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours. Be gone.